Welcome back to my poetry class. Today we are going to discuss David Constantine's poem The House. David Constantine is a celebrated British writer of fiction and short stories for which he has been awarded several times, and as a poet he has also exhibited great caliber of the modern and post-modern sensibilities. This particular poem, The House, is bringing out a very unique strain of Constantine's poetry. Among all his contemporaries, Constantine is probably more romantic in the sense that he brings into his poetry a longing for the past, a nostalgia, a vivid presentation of the nature, and a very simple lyrical pattern. Though we are not going to analyze this poem in depth, but we are going to interpret it for our readers, for our students who are going to appreciate this poem from its thematic concern. So The House, it is a nostalgic poem. It is a poem where the poet is bringing out a comparison between the house he had lived in his childhood and early youth and the house at present he is living with his family in his adulthood. And the title, The House, here takes a metaphorical suggestiveness about the universe of an individual, where the house is providing the complete environment, the complete sense of identity to the individual. You won't forget the house, will you? So the poem begins with a question. Will you forget the house? That means house is an integral part of our existence, our personality, as it shapes our experiences of a particular period. And here in the poem he is presenting the two houses at two different locations with two different sets of experiences. So he is telling, I never will, but he is immediately answering and asserting that he will never forget the house. The south wind rattled the sash and rain came in on the sill. And that house of his childhood, of his early youth, he is vividly remembering it as being rattled by the south wind, because it is a house by the seashore, by the seaside. So the south wind is rattling it, disturbing the whole house or bringing the whole house into some dynamism, some activities by rattling the sash. And the rain came in on the sill, and the raindrops are also dropping on the sill, on that bottom part of the window, with its sound that is giving the poet a sense of belongingness, a sense of intimacy with the house as an entity. And the wind denuded the moon white and the white of the tide, wheeling into the wind, lifted, soared, and frayed. And as a child, he is remembering very vividly each and every change of the color, each and every change in the nature surrounding his house, as if the house is the universe, the world to the young soul. The wind denuded the moon. The wind is gradually stripping out the moon. The moon is becoming brighter and brighter. And why this sense of brighter? Because the poet is feeling his intimacy with the moon. If the house is his world, the moon is the neighbor. The moon is an intimate neighbor whom he every day finds. So, the denudation is a suggestion of the intimacy. White and white of the tide, as if the moon is becoming whiter and whiter. That means it is coming nearer and nearer to him. It is becoming more and more intimate to the poet as a child or a young man. Wheeling into the wind, as if the moon is wheeling, the moon is moving into the wind. The whole universe is becoming a rhythmic movement with the movement of the poet's imagination, the poet's childhood imagination. The child is imagining as if everything around him is moving in his own rhythm, lifted, soared, and frayed. So, the moon is also showing the capabilities of a friend, an individual who is sometimes lifted. It is lifted. Why? Because it is higher up. And showed. It is showing its brightness as if every part of the moon is being explored by the child and his intent gaze into it, to explore, to know. It is a child's inquisitiveness to know and explore and frayed. And the borders of the moon being colored by the night sky, it seems frayed to the poet. And the sun came out of the sea, and when it became the dawn, the morning, in the night he finds the moon as his own intimate friend and explores every part of it till its borders. But as soon as the morning comes up, the sun came out of the sea. The beautiful sun is jumping out of the sea, and all that way across easily found the house. And the poet is imagining, the child is imagining that as if the sun is coming out like a friend who is playing hide and seek, and easily he is finding out the house. Easily he is finding out where the poet is hiding, the house is hiding. The house is also becoming a person. The bed, the looking glass. The sun is entering into the house and exploring every bit of it. The bed within it, the looking glass. Remember the house so well that somebody else elsewhere will say, we had a house the same as where you were. And now the poet is coming back to his present time and he is telling, remember the house so well. I do remember that house of my childhood and early youth so vividly, so well, that somebody else elsewhere will say. If I come across some people who might be staying in that house after I left, after the poet left that house, he may come across some of those people who had stayed in that house to say, we had a house the same as where you were. We had the house the same as where you were. It was the same house. Or everybody's experience of childhood in a house is same. Every house becomes a world, a complete world for the child. But 100 miles from the sea, and it was the north that blew. But no more that house is there in its physical contact with the poet. The poet is far away, both in time and space. Time has passed, and he has moved 100 miles from the sea. He has left the seashore, and it was north that blew. He moved north. It was the south shore of the sea, and he moved towards the north into the land where the north wind was blowing, and the sky was as sheer as steel, where the sky is not so friendly. Rather, it is like a steel, very sheer. Why? Because the poet is now grown up, he is an adult, he is no more having that innocence, he is no more having that childhood movement, dynamism. So, as an adult, he is calm and composed. So, to him, the sky is also like a steel. It is having settled down. And everything flared and flew. And everything in this new sky where he is now living, it is flared and it flew. The sky is no more giving him the feelings of intimacy, the feelings of being his close. Rather, as if it is escaping, it is going away, as if it is having that social sense of being different, of being strong individuals who do not like to come in contact with each other or exploring into each other, or rather intruding into each other's space. That means it is suggesting his adulthood, which is being viewed through nature. Stubble went down the wind. The oaks were filled with a voice. And in the fields, there were the stubbles which were going down with the wind. The wind is making the stubbles bend, as if they are surrendering to the wind. The wind is like the passage of time, which is making every individual grow out of that unconquerable open spirit of the childhood into a secluded personality, into a confined existence, into a self-confined existence. The oaks were filled with a voice. So where he is living, there are oak trees, and as if the oaks were filled with a voice, the oak trees are talking to themselves. When man grows up, man only talks to himself. He doesn't talk to nature. He doesn't talk to the outer world. And the stars in the Milky Way screamed like a slide of ice. And the whole Milky Way, where there are so many stars, but still they are screamed like a slide of ice. They are simply arranged there like a slide of ice. They are no more dynamic. They are no more intimate to the poet, because the poet has grown out of his childhood fantasy, his childhood innocence, and his childhood activities. And the sun that found our bed rose over oaks and a hill. And now the sun is also coming up, but it is not coming up from the sea, from the water. It is coming from behind a hill, behind the oaks. Sun that found our bed, it is still finding the bed in this second house. Rose over oaks and a hill, it is rising over the oak trees, over the hills. But the house was surely the same. But the house was surely the same. Means this new house is also the world of the poet. It is also the whole complete world of the poet. He is living in this house, in his own universe, as he was living there as a child in that house, thinking it as the universe, except for the sash and the seal. But one thing is, two things are different here between this house and that house, which are almost identical in its experience to the poet. But the sash and the steel, which were there, the sash and the seal, which were there in the previous house and which were making him feel the rain and the wind. Here the rain and the wind he is not enjoying anymore because he has grown up. And there was a looking glass. And though they were mine and hers, the faces shown by the sun might have been hers and yours. Again, the poet is reminiscing or remembering about that old house, that the first house and its looking glass. There was a looking glass, and though they were mine and hers, and that looking glass was having the reflection of mines and hers, means the young poet and the house. So that has been imprinted in his memory, that in that looking glass he found the reflection of the house and the reflection of himself, which has been arrested in the time. The faces shown by the sun might have been hers and yours, but on the other hand, the sun which is showing which is reflecting the whole world, it is reflecting the house as well as the other people who were living there after the poet or who have seen that house. So he is telling the mirror, the looking glass in that house is arrested with the time when the poet was living there. But the sun is showing everyone in its illumination. You remember it all so well that except for the south and the sea, that was surely the house except for her and me. And now the poet is coming to a sadness, coming to a sense of sadness, that you remember it all so well. He is telling that you people must be remembering it all so well, that that house and this house and that house was having all my memories of the childhood and early youth, that except for the south and the sea, and this house is also having all my memories of the adulthood. And this house is different from that house by the direction. That was the house besides the seashore, the south seashore, the south and the sea. That was surely the house, except for her and me. But that house must be also remembering me, except for her and me, that I am no more there or she is no more there, because the child is creating a world of intimacy where the most intimate person or object is always carried with the memory. If the memory is carried away, then as if that object is missing. So as the child is removed from that house, so as if the very spirit of that house is also not there. It has been shifted away. And it can also refer to the present house, where it is the same house at the previous one, because of his living experiences at both the places. But there are two differences. One is the South Sea, and the second one is that feeling of that house and his childhood, which is left, which has not come to this house. So in this way, the poet is bringing out a very nostalgic note in the postmodern time, when all these feelings were missing out, but he has given a sense of pluralism to that nostalgic emotion and giving a new direction to poetry. So this is all the meaning of the poem. And from this poem, questions can be asked, like the description of the nostalgia and emotion of the poet regarding the house as we find within the poem, or to discuss this poem as a poem of childhood nostalgia. So this is all. We will meet again. Thank you.